How are you? Right. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So we've had an atypical few weeks during our Saturday sessions. That's going to happen as we go forward as well. I think last week, first week of spring break, we thought there would be really thin attendance, so we had a special activity that we did with the students. And the previous week before that, I made it a point to show you the video that we had made as the special topic for the kids to follow. So now getting back in the swing of things. Now, from the beginning of the year, we've gone through these building blocks of understanding Vedanta. And through every step, I've tried to make sure that we make it as practical as we can for daily life. Now, the objection that arises is, we live in a world today that is not conducive for this kind of Vedantic growth in our lives. It's such a different era than when the intention of this knowledge was. We find ourselves so busy, attention span so short, different excuses that we can give. Some of them are valid. However, one objection that's invalid is this knowledge is not meant to be practical. It's only meant for a select few. That if you wear weird clothing with a different kind of a name and you're away from societal norms, only then this knowledge applies to you. For regular people like us, we don't have a chance to live it. That's one objection that arises often. Let's look to Shastra to see how that's nullified. Because one framework that we looked at early on was this framework of Purushartha, goals of life. 4 main Purusharthas that are given. In the order of least important to most important, we can call them as Kama and Artha at the very bottom, where it's desire that bloats this ahankara, desire that must be fulfilled, and Artha, wealth, commerce, that is within the ambit of dharma, righteous action. Righteous action can be do those things that acquire punya, staying away from those actions that merit any kind of papa karma. Now, taking this as our framework, if we were to stop right there and say dharma is the be-all, end-all, simply do good, be good, that would be the end of our religion right there. However, in Sanatana Dharma, doing good, being good is not the culmination. Moksha is that pradhana purushartha. Let me go for that liberation. Dharma is that vehicle that takes me to that moksha. Through righteous action, I purify this inner instrument. When that knowledge of my true identity is understood, owned up, ascertained, then I no longer have a next birth. That's the gearing here. Now, this can seem so abstract. How can you go for a goal that is not clear? That you ask anyone around you, what does this goal look like? They say, we only know of it from a guru or from a book. There's no personal experience from anyone we can talk to. How do we go for that then? Which is why what's laid out in Shastra is so important to see. So, Taittiriya Upanishad is a very important Upanishad for us, especially in the school of thought that we are in. Chinmaya Mission, so Puja Gurudev's Guru, Puja Swami Tapovanji Maharaj, he belongs to an affiliation with the Sringeri Matha. So the first question you ask when anyone dons these colors is, what is your lineage, who is your guru? That's the way it checks out to see, is this a legitimate teaching, or is it simply someone's kalpana, someone's imagination? So our lineage, we trace back to that Sringeri Matha, one of the 4 mathas established by Bhagavan Shri Adi Shankaracharya ji. And the Veda that is specific to this lineage is the Yajurveda. Specifically the branch called the Krishna Yajurveda Shakha, one specific element there. Now, one of the major Upanishads that are part of that Krishna Yajurveda is Taittiriya Upanishad. Now, this Upanishad goes through, of course, this deepest truth. But one section in that very beginning called Shikshavalli, this is the Shishya Anushasanam. That upon graduating from the Gurukula system, The student has a choice at that point, whether to pursue brahmacharya further and take that track to sannyasa, or to pursue grihastha ashrama. For those pursuing that grihastha ashrama, the following benediction is given, instructions to live by. The reason why I'm sharing this at this point is, in these very instructions, we see how this Vedic knowledge is made practical, not just for someone who's a renunciate, but for someone especially in that track of grihastha ashrama. That's how practical it was made, and these are actionable even today. So you'll find this in your Bal Vihar folders if you have it, or digital version. Page number 29 is where we'll look, okay? In the Bal Vihar folders, page number 29. The reason we have it in the folders is, during the graduation time, we chant this when the students graduate. So what's said first? Vedamanuchyacharyon te vasinamanushasti. Meaning, after the teacher has taught the Veda to the student, then he embarks on this final benediction. Satyam vada dharmam chara. Satyam vada dharmam chara. Satyam vada, never stray from the truth. Always stick to that which is the truth. Dharmam chara, never sway from dharmic action. So first one, never stray from the truth. If we look at what are the values of Sanatana Dharma, even in a relatively small text like Bhagavad Gita, we find a compendium of values given. Second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it goes through Sthita Prajna Lakshana. What are those lakshanas of a realized person? Then you go through 13th chapter, another plethora of good values is given there. Shauchyam, Acharya Upasanam, all of these are given right there. 16th chapter, you have the Daivi Sampatti, again, a whole set of values are given right there. 17th and 18th chapters, in that discussion on gunas, another set of values are given. So, full of values everywhere. Now, if you were to boil down all these values to just a few, and say this is the direction of Sanatana Dharma, that would be really hard to do. But Pujya Gurudev has done that. If you look in self-unfoldment, what your 11th and 12th graders are studying here, boils everything down to three main values. Brahmacharya, ahimsa, satyam. Brahmacharya, not just the sexual continence, but reigning in these sense organs, brahmacharya. Not doing what I want to, when I want to, how I want to, where I want to. That is brahmacharya. Ahimsa, non-injury. Not this Gandhian ahimsa that's been corrupted, where someone hits you, you turn the other cheek, not that. Not doormat ahimsa. This is the kind of ahimsa where you don't wish any kind of harm to anyone, verbally, mentally, physically, of course, but you stand up for things when they matter. That kind of ahimsa. All of this predicated on that supreme value, satyam, truth. Not only from the standpoint of always speak the truth, that which is not a lie. That's one interpretation of it. Satyam in our religion goes deeper than that. Because when it comes to that mukti, liberation, mukti is a result of understanding what this knowledge of the truth is. That's satyam. Because you look at the Abrahamic religions, salvation is gained simply by surrendering at the feet of that divine and saying, this is the one prophet of that divine, I believe in that divine, and because that full belief is there, on Judgment Day, you are saved, all others are damned to an eternal hell. In Sanatana Dharma, however, mere belief in that divine is not mukti. Even darshana of that divine is not mukti. We look in Srimad Bhagavatam, whether it's Dhruva or Prahlada, they have that darshan of Bhagavan Mahavishnu. This is not some hallucination or vision. It's actually darshan of Bhagavan Mahavishnu. But even then, Bhagavan says, now that you have my darshan, you have been cleansed completely at the inner instrument. However, now focus on this knowledge for that final liberation. Even at that point, Bhagavan himself says that. Right? Arjuna had divine Divya Drishti and saw Bhagavan as all his glory. Even then, Bhagavan says you need this knowledge to get that liberation. Therefore, in Sanatana Dharma, it's not a belief-based religion, it's a truth-based religion. Knowing this truth is all that will save me from this cycle of rebirth again and again. Therefore, very clearly, satyam is that highest value. And Pujya Gurudev points out, any other value that you can find in our compendium of values is derived from one of these three. Satyam, ahimsa, brahmacharya. Because even if you look at, say, compassion as a value, that comes from ahimsa. Not wishing anyone harm then becomes something that's positive for that individual. You look at another value like humility, for instance. Brahmacharya aids in that humility. We're understanding that I am simply not what I just present to be or think that I am. It is that I am much lesser of a being than that. Overestimation of myself cannot be possible. That reining in of the senses is what facilitates that value to actually take fruit. So they all come from that. Dharmam chara, so after satyam vada, dharmam chara. Dharmam chara refers to what do I take as my ashraya? What is it that I go to in those moments where I find myself in a difficult situation? Now, this is easier said than done. When we were at the Vedanta course, one of our batchmates had a sister that needed some kind of, I think, kidney or liver transplant or something. Now, he was on the phone with his mom. This is a year into the course, and she's struggling financially, and there's uncertainty about a donor, all these things. And he says, don't worry, Bhagavan is there for everything. You've been at a course for a year, at least that much you should come out with, right? His mom said, yeah, that works for you in your ashram, but this is the real world out here. Meaning, do I have a different set of things I rely on? One for within the temple four walls, yeah, Bhagavan is my answer and everything. But when real problems hit me, I go for a real solution right there. What is my mindset? Now, it's very easy to fall for this kind of dichotomy in life. There's that movie where there's a doctor who's really arrogant. He's an ER doctor and he saves lives, he's really arrogant. And he explains his arrogance too. He says when your kid stops breathing because of an allergic reaction, or there's a wound, and a bullet wound or something like that, do you go to the chapel or do you come to my emergency room? Where do you go? Meaning, who is the one actually saving your kid? So because of kutarka and stupid logics like this, we take on this idea that, okay, Bhagavan cannot help me in times, dharma is not necessary, do things by all means necessary. That's the pitfall we fall into. Like in second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it clearly goes through what this notion of karma yoga is completely. That selfless work, without looking for the fruit of action, without looking for any specific result, that is what leads to my growth, prosperity, and happiness. That's clearly given. Now, some people say, okay, let me present you with this logic. Now, you all can do this too. When you work in the corporate world, there are two types of people, right? There are those poor people that work with their heads down and don't make noise about what they do and let their work do the talking for them. And then there are those guys that BS around the cooler all the time. They do one small thing, they make it into a giant thing. These are the people that update their resumes once every month with the newest thing that they've accomplished. Whether it's an accomplishment or not, you know, but they update it with that anyway. Who is the one that rises in the company? That first guy that puts his head down and actually works? Or is it the guy BSing every single day? You know who rises. Looking at that truth, people say, this whole selfless work leading to growth, that's a lie. Who said that the result of karma yoga is a promotion, or a higher salary, or prosperity in the workplace? We're trying to take a round ball, trying to stick it into a square peg. Doesn't work that way. If the goal of what Vedanta is teaching us is one thing, I can't take that remedy and put it towards a different goal. It won't work that way. Dharma is nothing but that. Dharma is understanding what are the steps, towards what goal, what is the end that it brings me, why should I embark on this path? Without understanding that fully, there is no understanding of what the dharma is, and therefore from my very actions to the result I should be looking for, all the way to what my expectations are, all of these fall apart completely. And then that leads to a bitterness, a jadedness of, I've been so honest my whole life. Those people that lie and cheat and steal, they rise so much, they have such big houses. I've been honest and proper, and look at my condition right now. We can fall into that easily. Where the best pillow is a clean conscience. That's it. And karma will catch up, even if not in this lifetime, in the next lifetime for sure. Karma will catch up with people. That's important to understand. So satyam vada dharmam chara svadhyaya anma pramadaha. Svadhyaya, study of the Veda. Never swerve from that. Now you ask any Hindu, what is our scripture? 10 Hindus in a room, 11 different answers will come. Because one person like me will change their mind halfway through and give something else. And you were to ask a Hindu, some will say Ramayana is our one scripture. Some people will put some Yoga Shastra and say that's our main scripture. In mission, many people say Bhagavad Gita is our main scripture. But if you think about what that main scripture, what the origin source of all this knowledge is, it's the Veda. Not Vedas, Veda. One gigantic compendium. Because Bhagavan Veda Vyasji, in his time, saw that this knowledge was not being respected like it should, the interest level, attention span, willingness to embrace this knowledge was not there, he said, let me codify it into 4 distinct sections, have each of those passed down by one major disciple. So the 4 Vedas came into being. Rig Veda, Samaveda, Yajur Veda, Atharvana Veda. Now each of these Vedas has different parts to it. Samhita is there, Mantra portion is there, Brahmana portion is there, Aranyaka portion is there, Upanishad portion is there. Okay, these are 4 to 5 different categories that are given. Mantra portion are those incantations, those formulas given, where they keep this knowledge alive. So at the beginning of every class, Sahana Vavatu we chant. That is a mantra from that mantra portion of the Veda. Then Samhita, Aranyaka. These are those processes and their explanations of various rites and rituals. Whether it's how is Upanayana Samskara done, how is Vivaha Samskara done, how is Antim Samskara done. Today it's fallen to the point where the Pandit knows what it is, they chant and we just follow along. But it's important to see what is the significance of these portions of the Veda. Where one place I don't like to go is to weddings. Right? Because they sit you in the front row as the chief guest or whatever. So every time you yawn or go drowsy a little bit, the camera catches you every time and they call you out after asking, why were you sleeping during my wedding? And now I'm at the age where when I was a chick, my friends that were chicks at that time, they're all getting married. If I don't go at this point, it looks really bad. Especially if it's in Dallas, not on a Sunday, right? Looks really bad, so I have to go. So like that, Swamiji and I, we went to one wedding in California. Okay, this is about a couple years before he left for India. So again, I'm sitting in the front row there. And one of my dear friends was getting married. But every wedding is the same after a while, huh? It gets boring just sitting there. So then this one lady came up to me. And she said, are you Hari Chaitanya from Dallas? When they ask like that, I can't say no. I have to say yeah. She said, I want to talk to you privately. And I said, okay, let's go talk in the lobby. Because if she hits me or something, I don't know, who knows, right? If she hits me or something, there's some witnesses that can at least vouch for me. So she took me there. Instantly, she said, this is my daughter right here, 27 years old. I said, okay, good for you. And then she said, she's single right now. In your work that you do with the college students, you must be seeing many boys in their 20s, I'm sure. I said, yes, I knew where this was going. I said, yes, I do. So then she said, we want someone like you, is what she said. I said, brahmachari? What are you saying? She said, no, someone that was born and raised in this country but still loves their culture. I said, say it that way then. What is this we want someone like you nonsense? So I said, okay. Then she said, give me your number so that I can call you every now and then to see if you found someone. Now, I'm not smart, but I'm smarter than that. So I said, no, Amma, you give me your number. When I find the right boy, I will call you right away. So in my contacts, I have her name, and then in parentheses, do not call. I have right next to her name. So I've also wisened up over the years, Sometimes this happens in weddings. As odd as that is, at least the wedding that was going on was according to samskaras and everything. I was happy about that. Some other wedding I went to recently. Again, a mission kid. There was no havan during that wedding. There's a woman officiating it. Odd thing, first of all. Ganesh Puja is done traditionally in the beginning. They chanted Vakratunda Mahakaya, and that was it. Like our opening prayers, the next thing they went to. And she was explaining each step in English and all of this, but it was not according to any kind of sampradaya. There were no Veda mantras being chanted or anything. It was just some new age nonsense that they were doing. And the fun parts, like putting the malas on each other, everything, that's good for the pictures and all of that. But there's no traditional aspect. Now, what really got to us was, there was one point when it got to the Kanyadana. Kanyadana is wrongly translated in English as giving away of the bride. Okay? And there's this movement. If you don't know it now, when your kids get older, at least you'll know. There's a movement right now that Kanyadana is a regressive, terrible part of this Vivaha Samskara that's done. So lots of progressive kids and progressive priests, they do away with that portion. And in this wedding that I went to, the lady on the mic said, why only Kanyadana? We should do Purushadana as well, where the boy is also given away. That's the heights of stupidity, saying something foolish like that. Why? What is Kanyadana about, according to the Samskaras? During that wedding ceremony, there's a portion where the mantra is chanted. The mantras, okay? This is really important to see. Where they say, our family has many things that are great. We may have education. We may have land. We may have the dharana built up by generations of tapasya. But the thing that we value the most in our lineage is our daughter. She is nothing less than that Lakshmi Devi herself. Now, if she is nothing less than that Lakshmi Devi herself, whom we marry her to is nothing less than that Bhagavan Narayana himself. So even though it's our daughter and your boy, we see this union as that holy matrimony of that Lakshmi Devi with that Bhagavan Narayana. What can be more beautiful than that? This is not a symbolic thing. This is actually the mantras are elevating them to that level. So when they say Pati Parameshwar and all, so how can they say that? This is how they can say that. Union of Lakshmi Devi and Narayana. Now, see without understanding, when we fall for this pop culture nonsense going on right now and the movement that we find ourselves in, how much we cheapen that which is divine. When we get away from understanding of the mantras, when we get away of understanding Samhita Aranyaka, what they say about our samskaras, this is what we devolve into. And before long, before you know it, our weddings will be simply performative. That's it. There will be no purpose behind them anymore. They'll just exist as some kind of fun commodity that's there. The meaning will be completely washed away. It's happening right now. On a large scale, it's happening right now already. So that's part of Dharmamchara, is observing these kind of dharmas. Svadhyaya, study of the Vedas by those who must uphold various portions of it. So for some, it's upholding these portions. As a grihastha, is there the responsibility to get my kids married in the right way? Is there that responsibility I see to do their samskaras the right way throughout their lives? That's upholding of the Veda in that way. The other responsibility we have, svadhyaya, is that self-study as well of what this knowledge is. In Sadhana Panchakam, the first recommendation that's given is Vedo Nityam Adhiyatam, meaning study the Veda daily. Now the objection we can come up with is Veda is not accessible to you and me. It's in the arcane Sanskritam language. It's very ritual-oriented, not something that's really relevant to me. Okay, thank God for Puja Gurudev, who has made that relevant to me today. Through his commentaries, through his videos that persist, showing how this knowledge is relevant to us. Now, Veda does not simply mean what is there in the Vedas. According to Vedanta Sada, one of the great texts, it says any derivative of that Veda also counts as that Vedic knowledge. So in Gita Dhyanam we chant, Sarvopanishado Gavaha Dogdha Gopalanandanaha. That if you take the entire Vedic knowledge as one large cow, the milk, distilled essence, not diluted, but distilled essence in a mere 700 shlokas is Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Partho vatsa sudhir bhokta dugdham gita amritam mahata. Gita amrita is what that milk is. Bhagavan Krishna is the milkman, cowherd again here, milking that giant cow. Arjuna and all of us are the ones that enjoy that Gita Amritam. So Bhagavad Gita, it's there. Where I like to listen to a lot of different podcasts from various religions, just to see how people teach and all of this. Just the other day, yesterday, while doing the dishes, I was listening to one Christian podcast going on. And the pastor was complaining that he talks about different areas of life to his congregation. And sometimes when he's talking about one thing, people object and say, you're not teaching the gospel, you're talking about whatever else you want. Teach from the Bible is what they say. So he gave examples. He said when he talks about relationships and marriage, people come and give that objection. When he talks about physical health and nourishment and fitness, people come and say, teach from the Bible, what is this you're talking about? His point is, all of this is necessary to live a religious, holistic life, but anytime I deviate into these, people see it as it's outside the Bible, it's not relevant. Now look at our Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, it contains that highest knowledge. Can I bring a topic like food consumption and exercise into Bhagavad Gita? You can. 18th chapter, Ahara, what is consumed, given by the three gunas. Can I bring in a topic like austerity into Bhagavad Gita? Yes, that is also taken up. Can I bring a topic like lack of Shraddha into Bhagavad Gita? That's also analyzed very clearly. Can I bring in the topic of work? Can I bring in the topic of approaching that state of meditation? Can I bring that topic of where do I go once I depart from here? Can I bring that topic of what do all these vast Vedas say? Can I bring the topic of what does it mean to have true devotion? All of these are taken up quite clearly. That which is the most mundane, seemingly physical, seemingly on the outside world, to that which is what are the inner instrument, what are the inner workings of this instrument, all the way to what is my relationship with that divine. A mere 700 shlokas, all of this is taken up for study. Meaning there is no area of our life that we can say is outside the bounds of the scriptures. Everything is accounted for. That's why study of the scriptures brings about a holistic way to live. Svadhyaya anma pramadaha. Yet, for the Hindu today, the average Hindu, study consistently is not something considered a priority. We feel it's only meant for a few, chosen few, that must study this knowledge. It's not meant for the population of the people. Pujya Gurudev turned that idea on its head. He said, I will teach Gita Upanishads to anyone that is willing to learn it. That it's not simply about saving it for a few, based on some kind of arcane label. It should be open for the masses. Now, whether they receive it properly, with full faith and full diligence, that's on them, but I will give out this knowledge free of any kind of labeling. That's the beauty right there. So Svadhyaya is possible. Acharyaya priyam dhanamahritya prajatantum ma vyavachetsi. Acharyaya priyam dhanamahritya. Whatever the teacher, Acharya, demands, it is the duty of that grihastha to give. Whatever the guru demands. Now, one thing to make really clear, I may be sitting up here speaking, I am not a guru. Okay, I'm definitely not your guru. Your guru and my guru is Pujya Gurudev Swami Chinmayananji. And whosoever occupies the role of the head of Chinmaya Mission, in this case, Swami Swarupananji. We can take those as guru. Any other Swami Brahmachari that's teaching, your guru and my guru is the same. That's the first thing to be taken. Now, whatever the guru demands, we must give. Why? First is the guru will never demand something that's adharmic or unreasonable. Whether it's funding for a project, whether it's a demand for the shishya to do a certain sadhana, it's only for the growth of the people and growth of the person that they're asking from. That's what makes them that guru. Second thing to really hone in on here is, what is a guru even? Because you type in Hinduism on YouTube, you'll find 1,000,001 people, many of them wearing different colored clothing like me, saying something. And they'll have all kinds of combinations and permutations of designs on their foreheads of chandan and kumkum and vibhuti, and they'll be saying something. Just because someone assumes a name with an ananda at the end and wears different colored clothing and speaks does not make them a guru. I'll give one example. I'm trying to malign anyone with this, just giving an example of where we fall in the world today. There's a certain title called Sadguru. Sadguru is not some self-assumed title that you can give yourself. According to Sampradaya, for that person who has studied thoroughly Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, Brahma Sutras, Vyakarana, Shiksha, understanding all of this very, very clearly, their knowledge is tested in a sabha of many learned scholars. Once they feel that this person has the knowledge requisite to call themselves a guru, they are conferred the title Satguru at that point. Just because I dress like a court jester, I can't just give myself that title randomly. We live in a world today where these titles people inflict upon themselves. They stray from all kinds of Vedic teachings. What they teach has nothing to do with the intention of what dharma, artha, kama, moksha is, but they're taken as valid because they speak eloquently, they write beautifully, they present themselves very impressively. Is that the marker of what we see as the truth, however? You see Puja Gurudev's teachings, he required every student to have the book as he taught. Saying, don't believe it because I'm saying it, believe it because the Shastra says it. I'm just making it come to life. Now, many complain and say, all these other self-styled gurus on YouTube, they have millions of likes. Chinmaya Mission Swamis only have at the most a few thousand likes for their videos. Good. The people that pander to the masses, watering down what our knowledge is, they'll always get more likes. Having some Bollywood celebrity interview your guru, yeah, you'll get likes there. They'll ask faltu questions, they'll give faltu answers, and you have that, that's fine. That is not our prerogative right here. We're not going for likes and subscriptions and things like that. It's nice to get that knowledge out. Gurudev said, maximum knowledge for the maximum happiness, maximum people, maximum time. If he lived in the era of social media, good God, he would have taken it over, like anything. However, what we do is at a different level. It's not flashy. It's not fun. I mean, look around here, how many people are here, right? It's not flashy, it's not fun. But the people that really are interested will benefit in a way that's not diluted from anything else. That we can promise as Chinmaya Mission. So seeing that there are only a few thousand views on those videos, that makes me proud. That look, okay, the people that are watching are not the ones taken by just anything. They really do like it then. So what makes that guru? That's very clear. Next we see, Prajatantum ma vyavacchetsihi. The benediction given to that student is, never cut off the line of descendants in your family. The chick members that come to me nowadays, by the time they get married, they're in their 30s. And I say, okay, you're 32, 33, when are you having kids? When am I become an uncle is what I ask them. And they say, oh, we're still thinking about it. We need some more time. What time, dude? You're already in your mid-30s. What time are you talking about? Some of them say we're going to earn as much as we can, retire when we're 40, and travel the world and live. Kids actually get in the way of that kind of plan. We don't plan on having kids. And I say, then why'd you get married? They say, what does marriage have to do with having to have kids? It's our choice. In our Sanatana Dharma, duty of the Grihastha is to have children. So, one quiz question then. How many children does Shastra say to have for every couple? How many? Can you guess? Only one guess per person, huh? 16 children per couple? My God. One? Okay. Like China, one child policy? Cool, cool. 16? That means all of you have really fallen short. None of you have done well in life then. Recommendation given by Shastra is 3 children per couple. We would think 2, right? Because we've been, hum do hamare do, right? Government has, sarkar has conditioned us to think a certain way. Why 3? For the population of your people, of your lineage to increase, logically there should be more kids than the parents there, shouldn't there? That's the first thing. So 3. 3 is that number that's given. And even developmental economics shows us that in any society that grows, they have 2.3 children per generation. That doesn't mean they're having a third of a kid. It's averages that they've taken, but 2.3 children is understood as that's what propagates. That is the duty to have. Now people say, oh, that's 3 college tuitions, 3 marriages to pay for. I get it. It won't be easy, but that is the duty. Now we've fallen away from that completely. Hindus are the only group in the world that have a negative growth rate right now. And you can say, oh, Hari Bhai, look at Bharata, the population is the second highest in the world. True. In terms of abadi, true. But when it comes to growth of the generations, it's actually slowing down. Even in your immediate friend circle, can you name anyone that has 3 kids out of all your friends? Now look at our previous generations. My dad has 42 first cousins. So you can imagine going to India, especially growing up, it was just house tours, that's it. All I know of India is people's houses until I became an adult. Then I saw, wow, temples, and wow, these places. Pilgrimages, wow, museums. 42 first cousins. 1 generation after, I have 4 first cousins, that's it. Next generation, who knows? So these things that we find so, okay, it's outside the realm of Shastra, who cares about population? That has a huge difference. The other reason being, without putra pautra, without that lineage, descendants, who will do my antim samskara when I'm gone? That's also one part of it. Where we talk about pitrupaksha and what has to be done, shraddha karmas, what has to be done. All of that is very important, even though we don't consider it to be, to keep that lineage going and to nourish the previous generations. We can say, I don't believe in all these things. It really does matter. It does have an effect in a very important way. So, prajatantum ma vyavacchetsihi. Never cut off that lineage. Satyanna pramaditavyam, dharmanna pramaditavyam. Again satyam, again dharmam. Hari Bhai, we just went through this 20 minutes ago. Yes. Why is it repeated again? Repeated because after a certain point of following a practice, after years of diligently taking up a sadhana, the feeling may come in the individual, I've done enough of this, I don't have to do it any longer. It's like that person who is recovering from alcohol abuse, right? Diligently staying away from it, this and that. Then they say to themselves, I think it's been 5 years sober now. Let me see, maybe I can go to a bar with my friends now. I have that kind of dharana in me, let me do it. And this has happened to many people. They go and then they're overwhelmed instantly. That urge to drink takes over, and what they lead to is a terrible slide. Meaning, for someone that's in recovery like that, it is never a safe time to be around those substances. Be it 10 years, 20 years. That's why when they introduce themselves in AA meetings, hi, I'm so-and-so, I'm an alcoholic. Not former alcoholic, I am an alcoholic, no matter how long it's been. Always in recovery. Like that, there may be a certain point. Going by certain nitya karmas that have to be done, going by what my sadhana processes are. At some point, I may think, no, I feel calm, I don't need to do this anymore. That's the time to stick with it the most. There is never a time where I can stray from that dharma, thinking I will be fine, there is no purpose in me doing it. That always must remain. That is a fact. So again, for that reason it's given, Satyanna pramaditavyam, dharmanna pramaditavyam, kushalanna pramaditavyam, bhutyaina pramaditavyam. Kushalam, welfare. Never stray from my own welfare, never neglect that. Bhuti, wealth. Never neglect my own prosperity. These are interesting to see. Never neglect your own welfare. There will come a point in every senior's life within the family, people start coming to them for advice. Their marriage problems become your problems then. Their problems with their kids become your issues. Their work-related stresses become your issues. You may be going through that right now if you're one of the seniors in the family. People will come to you, cousins and nephews and nieces, and all these people will. If there are issues that they're coming to you to help them, if that overwhelms you and your mental state starts to deteriorate, you are neglecting your own welfare at that point. Either it's I have to fortify myself and be stronger, or I have to say, look, I cannot help you. It's too much for me to handle all your problems. I just cannot handle. I can listen to it to a certain extent, but I can't help you. So how much do I look out for my own welfare then? In all situations. How thin am I stretched? When do I say that, look, I need this time or get my bearings straight, whatever it is, I have to look out for my own kushalam, my own welfare in that way. It's like when the oxygen masks fall on the plane, right? What's the instruction? Put your mask on before helping others. Or if you go on a Southwest flight, their pilots make it fun, you know? So the funniest one I heard was, put your own mask on first, and then put the mask on of your child that shows the highest earning potential, if you have multiple children. You want that one to live. They want, you know, they're going to help you later on. So whichever way, whether it's helping others or the kid with the most highest earning potential, you put your mask on first, though. Make sure you are fine before helping others then. Kushalam. Bhutyaina pramaditavyam. Never neglecting my own prosperity. Sanatana Dharma does not censure wealth. Does not censure wealth. Censures the misuse of wealth. Censures the wrong accumulation of wealth. Censures the hoarding of wealth and censures the infatuation with wealth. But wealth is a necessary commodity to have. Money literally makes the world go round. That if I do not have the means to support myself, I become a burden on someone else. Whether it's another individual or a family member, whether it is the state, that literally for my welfare, I'm on welfare. That can also happen. Government at that point. Look at what we're facing right now in our country. Right, in the 90s, we came out saying we want to eradicate the welfare system. Ironically, we're more in the welfare system than we've ever been in, the 60 years that they've even had that program going. In many countries, dominoes are falling in the world economy because of that. Where dependency on that kind of a system perpetuates a lack of any kind of growth, this is where we find ourselves. Because you look, for instance, at our Indian community. We don't benefit from any kind of affirmative action in this country for universities or jobs. It's merely that hard work that pushes us through. Now, will that last till the next generation? I don't know. But at least the first generation of all of you that came here, that fighting spirit is there. Against all odds, let us build something big for ourselves. Right? Now, when we look at prosperity then, Sanatana Dharma gives no guarantees of some kind of prosperity gospel, that just because you believe in Bhagavan and donate to the temple and things, you will get wealth. We do not say that at all. Wealth comes in many different forms. But one thing Puja Gurudev was firm about was, if you follow Bhagavan Narayana, Lakshmi Devi will come. Meaning if dharma is taken up as my cause, and I'm securing and seeking funding for the right reasons, there is no way that money will not come. Now you look at Chinmaya Mission's model then. Gurudev's vision here is so apparent. The Brahmachari training course that happens at Sandipani Sadhanalaya, for students from India, there's no cost. They get free food, free housing in Mumbai. Books and everything are free. The education given for 2 years is free. Plus, there's no binding that they must stay with the mission afterwards. And if you're a foreign student like me, nominal $4,000 for the 2-year course, which is nothing for what we're getting there, right? That's just to keep the lights on a little bit. But there are many that would say, Gurudev, you should have a provision where people sign a binding contract that if they go to Sandipani like this for free, at least 5 years they must serve with the mission in some capacity. He would say that's not the vision of our rishis. Our duty is to simply give this knowledge. What they do with that knowledge, whether in the mission, outside of the Hindu context, whatever it is, that's up to them. We have no right to dictate anything there. Your choice. Now, from an ROI standpoint, return on investment, that is a very poor business model. But that's the thing, we're not a business, however. This knowledge is not confined to any kind of give or take that you support the organization after getting this knowledge. It is free to give. That's the beauty right there. So bhuti does not come just in the form of money. Knowledge is also that wealth. What do we value as wealth as a society today? That's important to see. Because if the only value I look at for wealth comes in the form of what can I barter, what can I build physically, or having assets with that wealth, that's simply in that category of yoga kshema. Yoga aggrandizing everything, kshema making sure that it's there for me and my future generations. That's the life of a dog that takes its bone and buries it, gets insecure, someone might take it, digs it up again, takes it, buries it somewhere else. Moving money, that's what it is. That's what we end up doing. So what is the wealth we're trying to create? What do we do with that? That's important to see. Bhutyai na pramaditavyam. Svadhyaya pravachanabhyam na pramaditavyam. Svadhyaya pravachanabhyam. Pravachanabhyam, propagating of this knowledge, never neglect that. Teaching of this knowledge. For anyone that studies this knowledge, teaching this knowledge is also a duty. Now, this is where I make my earnest plea every year. You must have seen in your kids' WhatsApp groups for Bal Vihar, there was a form that was sent out seeking Bal Vihar teachers from the congregation. Now, anyone that comes to Parent Satsang already, you're a target for teaching Bal Vihar the next year. Those of you that stay awake during my lectures, even more. I especially want you people that stay awake during the lectures to teach Bal Vihar next year. The serious reason being, if this knowledge needs to be passed down to the next generation, it takes all of us to do it. Now, me sitting in these yellow clothes, I am a cheerleader for the religion. Hindu, Hindu, two. That's what I am, wearing this uniform. So it's easy if only people like me teach for our kids to think that, yeah, Hinduism matters to that guy because he's taken this path. Of course it matters to him. But for the person who was a doctor, who was an engineer, who was an architect, when all of you are teaching this knowledge, that sends a different message. That says these people are just like me, living family lives, going for a career, leading normal lives. However, they take time to teach this knowledge. It must be really important then. It must be so important that it's not just for a few. It must be something valuable. See the difference right there? So the difference that you can make in teaching this knowledge is 10 times what I can do. I can speak from the pulpit. I can drive engagement, steer us in a direction of innovative teaching and all of this. To make that teaching real, however, Sanjanaji, we're a tiny cog in that whole thing. You guys are the giants that have to make that happen. Now, the resistance can be, I'm not qualified to teach this knowledge. I have never done it before. Handling my 2.3 kids is hard enough. How do I handle other people's kids also? You know how they are, even in the assembly. I understand all of that. Whenever this objection would come to Swami Sarveshananji, he would ask them 2 questions. That they say, I'm not qualified. He'd say, okay. Do you believe in this knowledge, what we teach here? Yes. Do you believe this knowledge should go to the next generation? Of course. Then you're qualified to teach. That's all you need. Because whether it's the storytelling or studying for this knowledge or finding ways of teaching, if the intention is there that the next generation has to know it, all of these skills will come. Now, does it take an amount of work and tenacity? Yes, it does. Will there be trying times where, yes, September and October teaching is fun during those times. The kids are all new and everything. Then, this time of year, February, March, that's when the kids' Vishvarupa really comes out. The true form that they are in all their glory. Bhagavan's Vishvarupa, you saw him, between his teeth lie those rakshasas that he's eating and everything. Your students will seem more bhayankar than that in the classroom. They get used to you, they start walking. All of this will be there. You ask, okay, what did we learn last week? Like when I ask you in Parent Satsang and you all just stare at me like this, kids will also just stare at you like that. You come up with ways of getting them on stage. You teach them the bhajan, what we do in class. You work so hard to make all of that. They get up there. Bhajan is not in tune, and the guy talking about what we do in class loses the paper and just says something random. All of these will happen. It's fun. That's the fun part. Growth will be there. But at the end of the day, you ask any of these kids that graduate, including me, did you gain something from the system? They may not remember specific lessons that you taught. They will remember that you made this a safe space for them. They will remember that you made them confident Hindus. They will be inspired by the fact that you looked beyond yourself and your family and you said, the broader congregation must benefit from my actions, therefore I teach Bal Vihar. So with that, does that mean my parent satsang pool is going to dry up? Sure, but I don't care. It's okay with me. I think you guys would be quality teachers. It would be a blessing to have you in the classroom, especially for a session like C3, where we're just barely staying afloat with the number of teachers that we have. Right? They're stretched. But we would love to have you on board. With that, we'll end for the day. Thank you so much. Today's intention was to go through this one section of Taittiriya to show very clearly we see how practical it's already been made by the Shastra itself. And these are actionable things we can do now in terms of studying. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.